Thank you for the introduction. And hello, True North. It's a pleasure being here.
This handsome gentleman is my uncle, and he lives in England. Growing up, I heard countless stories of him having this fantastic print photography business. He would be the go-to person for when you wanted to have your family photo album made or your wedding album made. I remember his warehouse was filled with boxes and boxes stacked high with his inventory, with artists and photographers running in and out of his shop. My uncle was clearly doing very well for himself, especially as an immigrant to England. Just last month, I overheard my mom crying on the phone as she listened to him tell her that he's scrambling for business. He's no longer the breadwinner of the family, and his kids have to step up to help. As we all know, the print photography business took a big hit with technologies like Adobe Photoshop, digital print books, and now Instagram. These disruptive products certainly played a role in helping society shift to be more capable and self-serving, but those who were deeply passionate and entrenched in the industry were clearly forgotten. My uncle is now 63. I don't expect him to be thinking about shifting careers.
Maybe we all know someone in our lives that's being affected by automation and disruptive technologies. In fact, according to a 2016 McKinsey report, by 2030, at least 10% of the global workforce will be displaced by automation. That's 250 million people. We don't really know the exact scale of impact automation brings, just that society and its values will change.
But we're not here to predict what the future holds. That's not our expertise. What we can be sure of, though, is that the transition between now and whatever version of the future we end up in won't be smooth. Some degree of adjustment will need to happen. When a new product category enters the market, it plays a very disruptive role. People who are embedded or even pioneers are now irrelevant. It's the collective job of everyone involved to consider what change you're bringing to the world and the impact it will have.
We are the makers of these automation technologies and services. As a director of product,
and as a product designer,
we're here to claim some responsibility to shape this automated future. Is there any Star Trek fans here? Thank you. Okay. In the latest series, Discovery, it's all about shaping the future of the universe against an evil AI by making better choices today, and that's what we want to do.
We have more power than anyone else about what our customers' futures look like. We are in the driver's seat to help define this future as we guide our customers to adjust to their new environments. Before looking externally, we must first look inwards. How else can you solve a problem without looking at the source?
Now, we wouldn't be true product people today if we offered a solution first. So we can start by diving deeper into the problem. I want to bring the story finally back to Bonfire and share with you how we design for elevation over automation. We're just at the beginning of our journey, and we're already seeing some pretty profound results, and we want all of you to join us. To reiterate what Chris Brown said this morning, Bonfire is on a mission to reinvent procurement to better the world. We build software that helps public sector procurement teams to find the right vendors to work with so that they can make the best value spending decisions. Our software has processed over $21 billion in spending decisions to buy new parks, new transit systems for cities, MRI machines for healthcare facilities, and musical instruments for grade schools all across America.
So Bonfire is already creating a tremendous impact for our customers and their customers. And let me walk you through an example. So one of our customers is St. Joseph's Healthcare System here in Hamilton, Ontario. They basically buy goods and services on behalf of about 400 healthcare facilities across Canada. In other words, they supply the food for all the hospitals here in Ontario. Before Bonfire, St. Joe's typically had about 2 projects a year where they were able to purchase these MRI systems. And now this took a really long time because procurement teams had so much manual tasks that they did in Excel. We won't bore you with all the painful details, but we heard it was awful. So let's think for a minute here. If one of the hospitals had a broken MRI machine, let's say in January, and they secured a replacement budget in March, That means they'd have to wait until the August RFP to just issue the advertisement, so that in about December they'd actually get the unit into hospital. Ever wonder why it takes so long to get an MRI appointment? Well, maybe procurement's to blame. Who knows? But using Bonfire, St. Joe's was able to streamline majority of the process, automating a lot of the vendor and stakeholder engagements. Now they can run about 4 to 5 projects instead of 2. And now instead of waiting 10 months to be in the hospital, you can be seen in about 4. Now that's some crazy ass time savings.
So automation in this case didn't displace any workers. It just allowed more work to be done. But other customers of ours that also experienced success in Bonfire, some of them chose to shrink their procurement teams and transfer the buyer to other roles in the organization. Because we sell to public sector, those companies are more often very kind about when it comes to retaining employees. But some private companies might not feel the same way. Someone would have been let go or been laid off. I would shudder to imagine that the software I work on would cause another family so much pain.
So how can a procurement person be more valuable than just negotiating a good price and basically abiding the law? Well, as you've discovered, this persona has a servant heart. They've taken this job because, one, they need to pay the bills, but secondly, so that they can contribute to society and make an impact. The folks who bought the MRI machine in January, well, they needed to build a relationship with their clinicians and patients to understand their requirements. They needed to ensure that their proposals were sound and that all the vendors could coherently understand it.
So it's very important for us to guide our users to demonstrate their value. We want to elevate them so they can do more work and not be displaced. And let's now share our approach by walking you through an example of our most recent project.
So those of us in a product role are used to thinking about our customer's problem at the workflow level. We might use a persona or the jobs to be done framework to describe their challenges. At Bonfire, our team shifted our thinking to be a bit more vertical, kind of like an agile development for the engineers in the room. We ran with a hypothesis that our tool must help our users help them show business value and make them feel inspired. By keeping these front and center, we help them climb the mountain of value. So our product projects follow the traditional phases of product development. We go through discovery, defining, designing, building, and launching. In each of these steps, we do the usual iterative activities to understand and solve our user pains. But most importantly, we asked ourselves critical questions about the user aspirations and their purpose.
For example, in our customer discovery, we made sure to ask the users, how does the feature we're about to build fit into their personal, team, or organizational goals? And in problem definition, we include a requirement so that we can level up the users. So for example, if we're working on a dashboard project, we must train our users to think more analytically.
In our design phases, of course, we wanted them to have a good user experience, but we explicitly made an effort to help them shine in their job. In the build phase, we shared our user goals, including the aspirational ones, with our engineers, so they're more empathetic to the user that they're building for.
In the beta process, as usual, we would collect feature improvement requests, but we also wanted to collect anecdotes about how the feature has helped the user become more valuable in their roles. Of course, some of the beta users will be only focused on the workflow automation pieces, but the more strategic users would easily tell you how the feature has helped them improve their value to their internal clients and for their supervisors. So guess who loves those anecdotes? Well, marketing and customer success teams certainly do. They're all part of user elevation journey too. Through webinars and blogs and user guides, we can teach the less strategic users how to talk about themselves, how to tell stories to promote their own value.
So for this project, our customers just wanted a basic report, take the data and dump it into a CSV. At a table stakes level, this was minimal work. We just needed our system to number crunch for them, to save them time and manual labor. But of course, we wouldn't be here giving this talk if we didn't go above and beyond that. We recognize that we, as a product, could provide immense value if we focus on the strategic users, keeping their top-level value in mind. So this is a snapshot of what we built. It's called proposal analysis. where St. Joe's procurement team can better understand the strengths and weaknesses of a vendor proposal. Previously, they'd be using basic data tables to make this hefty decision. You can tell we put a lot of emphasis on data visualization here. Our team spent a lot of time ensuring that this was meaningful and relevant to our users. I wanted a buyer of any type and any experience to mic drop out of that meeting thinking, I friggin' nailed it, because they were easily and eloquently able to recommend the best vendor to their execs. In proposal analysis, we utilize classic tooltips and user guides to guide the tactical folks to help understand, to interpret the data and the charts, so they too can level up to be more analytical. Now they can look like an all-star, maybe even get a promotion. But best of all, in our beta feedback, all our users were incredibly excited to use our reports and their reports.
So, what can all of us makers start doing today? Well, first, we're not likely to see an automated dystopia or utopia where employment is just a long-forgotten memory of the past. So we absolutely have to think about where our place is in this new world we're building. Some jobs will be lost, some jobs will begin, and even more will change. Retaining and retraining users and employees will be more important than ever, and we have to take responsibility with our actions in this.
Secondly, when developing your roadmap or determining the next business problem to solve next, look to your strategic customers first. They're often the ones leading the industry without even realizing it. In doing so, this will level up your junior users to become the strategic ones.
And finally, we need to design to elevate our users, not to displace them. Understanding what inspires them and what gives them purpose will really impact their lives and impact your business as well.
I hope one day soon, someone like my uncle will have a great story to share, and that you were a part of it.
Let's all climb this mountain together.
Thank you.